Yes, good morning everyone. 1 hour of food for food coming up right now. The Qatar Championship is circuit
We're sprinting into the weekend. Welcome along from the Lusail circuit. We're on the outskirts of Doha, here in Qatar for what is round 23 of this 2024 Formula One season. We come to the Middle East for the second part of our triple header. A sprint weekend, more points on offer for those teams chasing full points and full prize money in the constructors table. 3.36 miles this circuit, 1 DRS zone, top speed of about 214 miles an hour and 16 corners. It is utterly relentless, this circuit, twisting left and right. Originally designed for the motorbikes, but these Formula One cars are excelling around these high-speed corners. We go to the sprint race tomorrow, 19 laps here, 10 of which last year were run behind the safety car. But we have to qualify first, of course, and it's a slightly shorter qualifying session to a normal Formula One weekend. So 12 minutes for SQ1, 10 minutes for SQ2, and then 8 minutes for SQ3 when the soft tyres go on. It's medium before that. And if practice is anything to go by, when those red tyres come on, Jensen Button, the red cars come alive.
They were lightning, weren't they, in practice? But, you know, this, as you said, this track was made for motorbikes, but, oh, how it works so well for an F1 car. It's so fast, it's so flowing. It's a Formula One car at its best.
You've driven this circuit, not in a Formula One car, sadly. I'd love to have seen you out there in a Formula One car. You know how relentless it is. So when you're pounding around as fast as you can in SQ1, SQ2 on those medium tyres, How do you keep your pace as a driver?
Well, yeah, I've driven around here in a hypercar doing 1 minute 39s, and that felt quick. And these, you know, they're doing 121s out there, so it's unreal. When I went and watched practice in turn 9 and 10, the change of direction, it blows you away when you see it in real life. So no, these guys are breathless most of the lap because you cannot breathe the G-force they're pulling. And these cars are riding right on the floor, so there's so much downforce. Yeah, very impressive.
And the temperature's coming down. It's night time here, nearly 8:30 in the desert. Air temperature just over 18 degrees. Track temperature just under 22 degrees. Cooler the temperatures, faster the cars go. It's going to be non-stop in about 50 seconds time. So let's head down to Ted in the pit lane. Good evening, Ted.
Good evening, Crofty. Yes, hello, and hello, Jensen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pit lane, where it is about to burst into life. And, you know, an interesting fact about the state of Qatar, Crofty, it's slightly smaller, only slightly smaller than that of Northern Ireland, size-wise. Yeah, 4,000 square miles Qatar, 5,000 square miles Northern Ireland. And while you might say that Northern Ireland has a greater motorsport heritage, it doesn't have a Grand Prix, at least not at the moment. And Qatar is now enjoying its second Formula One Grand Prix this year. And it seems to be a straight fight at the moment between McLaren and Ferrari. Ferrari sounding confident going into this session. They say, yes, the drivers are happy with the balance, but we fear McLaren. McLaren, on the other hand, Crofty, saying we think Ferrari, and especially Charles Leclerc, are just plain quicker than us. It's all kidology, isn't it? But we will find out going into this session, where we'll get the clearest of all indications as to who is going to pick up the fight for this Grand Prix on Sunday.
The state of Qatar, Ted, is also the second flattest nation on Earth after the Maldives, which, like Northern Ireland, is yet to get its own Grand Prix. But you'll be welcoming of that because it's the third longest pit lane of the season. You don't have to walk uphill or downhill because it's really flat, Ted.
Great, excellent.
If you're going to give me interesting facts, I'll give you one fact,
Listen, a Grand Prix in the Maldives, only a matter of time.
Got to be done, JB.
Short track.
It'd be a short
Many
track.
laps. you guys are just full of facts.
We try.
It's wonderful.
At this stage of the season, you know, we've stored them all up. We've got to get them out before Christmas. Here comes Charles Leclerc then. Who can catch Charles Leclerc? He was absolutely devastating during the practice session. Maybe Ferrari were running a little bit lighter than McLaren. We'll find out, but I think that advantage over Carlos Sainz certainly was a genuine advantage.
Yeah, we haven't seen that advantage for a long time between the Ferrari teammates. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
George Russell, a man who won last time out from pole position. George Russell, who in the sprints this season has got a front row in Austin, was fourth on the grid last year. Could Lance Stroll be a bit of a surprise? The most experienced Canadian driver on planet Earth now. He's got 164 Grand Prix starts to his name, moves ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, but he found clear air in front of him to get a lap in practice and put his car up to the top 8.
He did. He looked competitive. I mean, the funny thing is they're all going up so early. You know, this makes you think they think there's a lot of laps in these tyres.
Yeah.
Low deg?
Low deg, but more importantly, track evolution high. So every lap that you go around, lay the rubber down, the grip gets higher, and it offsets whatever degradation is going on the tyres.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, in the perfect world, you'd go out in 5 minutes. You know, because the track's better, you've got better tyres than everyone else, but the risk of, obviously, a yellow flag is high, and most of these guys don't want to risk.
Well, there's a lot of gravel around here waiting to catch you out, so if you do go off, double waved yellows, red flag, could be quite high. Here comes Carlos Sainz then for his first flying lap. Take us through, JB.
He's going down this long, long straight, very smooth, this circuit, all the way around, but into turn 1, it's a long right sweeper, and you get the car over to the right for turn 2 immediately. This is a tricky corner. You can get on the throttle a lot earlier than you think here. Run the curve, not too much, flat little kink here, and that takes you up to turn 4, which is a right-hander. Then you go into turn 5. Good exit. This is a lot quicker than it looks on TV, 130 miles an hour through there. And then you're braking downhill into the left-hand of turn 6, the slowest corner on the circuit. Very easy to lock that inside front. And then you're up to the tricky turn 7. It's a slight negative camber here. And then you go through this roller coaster through the long left-hander here into turn 9, which is flat. in qualifying, and then the long left-hander turn 10. This is really tricky on the exit to get the throttle down. You want to get on as soon as you can, but you can lose time by running too much curb, and then you come into the long right-hander. This is like one corner really, but it's 12, 13, 14, and they're doing 150 miles an hour through turn 14 into 15. They've opened the corner up a little bit more, so even faster. And you've got this last corner here, a little bit of rear locking into this one, and you get on the throttle even before you get to the apex for great traction and before this long straight.
And down the straight comes Carlos Sainz, and a decent lap, but not as fast as Valtteri Bottas with a 1:23.4. Valtteri Bottas, who did qualify 8th on the grid for the main Grand Prix last year. Charles Leclerc puts his Ferrari right at the top, 10th and a half ahead of Bottas. The Sauber looked impressive, certainly with Valtteri Bottas in FP1.
It looks like they're getting their tyres working quickly as well.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. K-Mag in 4th as well, not bad.
If you're Valtteri Bottas, though, you know, this is an opportunity this weekend. You're pointless so far this season. He's never been pointless at this late into a season. So get your tyres working quick, get the qualifying done. Hope you can hang on for a sprint as Verstappen goes second fastest, a few hundredths of a second behind Charles Leclerc. But these cars will be filled fuel for the entire session. These lap times will be getting quicker, or should be getting quicker, the more we go on, and a 30.6 for the first sector for Lando Norris is the best we've had so far.
Yeah, that is quick, but as you said, the times are just going to tumble, and weight is a big, makes a big difference around here. So many high-speed corners carrying that speed. If you've got 10 kilos on the car, it's sort of 4/10 a lap.
Missed out the Drivers' World Championship, Lando Norris. Max Verstappen taking that, of course, in Vegas last week, but this season has still been very much a success for him. He's never previously finished in the top 5 in the championship before in his previous 5 seasons, so runner-up would be still a magnificent effort for him. Through the first sector, 4/10 ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri, who you remember won the sprint race in Qatar last year and was on pole for that race. Sergio Perez first lap, only 11th fastest. Perez was struggling in practice too. Norris crosses the line, goes quickest by nearly half a second to Charles Leclerc.
That's a massive lap time for his first lap on this set of tyres with a lot of fuel on board. I love this section of the track here through 13 and 14. He's got a half throttle lift, back on the throttle there. And then you're into 15. This is such a tricky corner to get right. Missed the apex a little bit there.
George Russell, 10th of a second outside the pace through the first 2 sectors. Oscar Piastri, someone was telling me in the week, guy builds up to things. He doesn't go flat out and push straight away, finishes 7/10 behind his teammate, but he builds up, and watch him right at the end.
He knows that this lap isn't the lap. It's not the lap that's going to get him through. So, yeah, he's just building up to it, and we've seen it many times with him.
George Russell arrives on the scene with the fastest final sector, goes second fastest. Yuki Tsunoda pops up into the top 7. Max Verstappen, you saw in the background, about to start his latest flying lap. Lewis Hamilton into the top 9. All the drivers racing here tonight have reached SQ3 at least once this year. But who are the 5 that are going to go out in the first part of qualifying? That's what we need to concentrate on. Bottas only fractionally off the pace in the first 2 sectors on his latest lap. Fernando Alonso hasn't got a time yet. Colapinto, Joe, Lawson and Perez are the bottom 5 as Joe lifts himself up into 11th place.
Yeah, great lap by Joe. I think with Alonso, he's taken a big risk there, but why not? Why not take a risk? I think that's the only way they're going to get through.
Fernando Alonso, 400th Grand Prix start this weekend as well. When we get to it on Sunday, as Bottas goes 4th fastest, and once again, that Sauber is right up there as Alonso goes into the top 7 with his first lap. And we're on board with the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, who puts half a second between himself and Lando Norris. His teammate Charles Leclerc puts a 10th between himself and Sainz, and it's Ferrari 1 and 2 with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go.
We've got to remember also they've had an hour practice around here. That's it. And 1 set of new tyres when they felt confident in that practice session. So they're jumping into qualifying here, sprint qualifying, and they're still learning. They're still pushing the boundaries of the car and themselves.
As Liam Lawson heads into the gravel, and he'll learn not to do that again. Love these gravel traps on the exit of corners. Really focuses the mind.
It does, doesn't it? You see the sparks coming off the floor where it's sitting on the deck.
You say they're learning as well, and they're learning throughout this session as to how the track has changed and how the wind has dropped a bit too. It's about half the speed that it was when you were out shivering on the trackside in FP1.
Yeah, it makes it a bit more consistent, a bit easier to understand what you're going to get in the next corner.
Pierre Gasly, fastest in the middle sector. Track ramping up all the time here. Nobody is safe from Charles Leclerc down to Liam Lawson. It could all change as Pierre Gasly goes fourth fastest. Just to prove the point that this track is changing and evolving all the time. Who we're looking for here, Esteban Ocon goes up into the top 10. Lando Norris is going quicker, as is Sergio Perez, this man here. 2 personal bests for Sergio Perez, but still about 4/10 off the pace through those middle first and second sector.
Yeah, these 3 minutes of this session are very important for Checo. He needs to get himself into SQ2.
Yeah, and 9th fastest only is not guaranteed safe. I mean, Lando Norris just on the fringes of the 1:21 as he crosses the line. They'll have a cool down lap now, and they'll be there to go again. Ideally, Jensen, do you want to be out there setting your fastest lap as the checker flag has fallen and be the last person to do it?
You do, but you want a good lap in before you get there. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a banker, because all hell could break loose just before the checker flag comes out around here when they're pushing the limits.
Oscar Piastri is in the bottom 5. Not for long, goes 3rd fastest. Lewis Hamilton is down in the bottom 5, along with Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, Nico Hülkenberg, and Franco Colapinto, who's one apiece with his teammate Alex Albon at Williams for their sprint qualifying so far this season.
Oh, beautiful toe on the straight there, sorry.
For Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon in the right place at the right time for Lewis there, and George Russell, I think, picking up a little toe too. You don't get much because the line comes at you quite quickly. But you'll take any bit of help going, won't you?
Yeah, these cars are very draggy. You can definitely get a 10th on the exit there.
Peter Bayer on the wall at RB, and his team boss, Lauren Mekis, sat next to him, the CEO of RB. RB, I'm still not sure about RB. Racing Bulls, call it Racing Bulls.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. It's amazing how often we get exactly the same time, isn't it, in qualifying? You see it quite often.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, Norris and Russell on exactly the same lap time, but Norris did his before Russell, that's why he's P1.
Yeah, 3.367 miles of track, and down to 1,000th of a second. They have identical times. Lewis Hamilton losing a bit of time, going wide and scraping the floor as he does. I'm just going to point out Lance Stroll just starting his final flying lap here, and we'll keep an eye on that because he found some really good track space in practice and popped up with a very decent time as a result, and he's got exactly the same opportunity to do that again here, and he needs to because he's in the bottom 5 along with his teammate Fernando Alonso. Zhou Guanyu is down there, Hülkenberg's down there, Colapinto's down there. 1 minute to go. They're all queuing up at the moment round about turn 16 to try and find some space on the track. Bernie Collins was saying, Jensen, you need 7 seconds of clean air from the car in front to you to not get disturbed by the aerodynamics.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And a circuit like Vegas, for example, it's all heavy braking corners, not really any fast corners, whereas here, it's pretty much all fast corners, so it has a big effect on you around here.
Certainly does. We're watching some timings here. Hülkenberg is 3.5 tenths up through the first sector. That's just to try and get himself out of the bottom 5. Alonso is 2.5 tenths up. Ocon is on a flying lap, and he's encountering a whole load of traffic at the end of that flying lap as he tries to put a bit of distance between himself and that bottom 5. He's got through it quite nicely. Ocon will cross the line and goes 9th fastest overall as we watch Hülkenberg on his lap approaching turn 11. Into turn 12 he goes, 177 miles an hour.
That's the G he is pulling there is massive. Looking at the times and the people that have crossed the line at the best possible time, Franco Colapinto.
Yeah, right at the last. There he goes. Lance Stroll up into 6th place. Magnussen goes 7th. I told you Stroll got himself some clean air. Hülkenberg only 8th. Lando Norris is into the 1:21, 6 tenths up on George Russell. Alonso goes 6th fastest. That might be good enough for him. Verstappen's under pressure, down in 10th at the moment as Carlos Sainz goes 2nd fastest. Everybody is improving on the track currently, including Sergio Perez, but not improving enough. Now 14th as Lawson, the man who wants to replace him at Red Bull next season, goes above him and pushes Perez now down into 15th as Bottas goes 7th fastest. Perez is in danger of an SQ1 exit here because they're queuing up behind him with some pretty fast times, including Yuki Tsunoda. Esteban Ocon has dropped back into that bottom 5. As Franco Colapinto takes the checker flag, only 19th. Perez is out of qualifying. Alex Albon is now in the danger zone as Hamilton goes fourth fastest. Sergio Perez is out in SQ1. Max Verstappen, his teammate, goes fourth fastest. Yuki Tsunoda trying to lift himself out of the bottom five, doesn't manage it. Esteban Ocon is not on a flying lap. He is going to bite the dust too in the dusty deserts of Qatar. And is that a surprise that Sergio Perez has been knocked out? Maybe, Jensen, on his form from practice, it isn't.
No, it's been his form the last few races, hasn't it? So that's a tough
one. Struggled to get to my delta because people ahead.
Yeah, don't stress about it. If there's plenty of traffic, don't worry about it.
I don't think we need to translate that. That is major disappointment. What do we say about, you know, getting the lap in at the right time? Maybe Esteban Ocon went a bit too early. That didn't help him.
But yeah, I mean, Perez, there wasn't anything wrong with his timing. The lap just wasn't there.
I mean, to be fair to him, 13 thousandths of a second separating Sergio Perez and Alex Albon. Albon, who is safe, Perez, who isn't. But in a Red Bull, you would expect a bit more progression than Sergio managed to show. This is Charles Leclerc getting past the Red Bull of Sergio Perez on the run down to turn one. Perez is fighting him back again. I'm assuming they're both on a fast lap here, and then Perez right in the way of Leclerc.
Yeah, that's probably not helped either of them, especially Charles, but that still would have hurt Checo a little bit. Not sure where the other car is.
What's doing there.
Well, I think they were both on a flying lap. Leclerc abandoned his lap as a result of what happened. And that is it for the first part of qualifying as we look on board with Pierre Gasly. I said they were all queuing up at the final turn.
Don't block me.
He still managed to get through. Franco Colapinto out though. First time he's been knocked out in SQ1. Zhou Guanyu out, Esteban Ocon out, Yuki Tsunoda out, and Sergio Perez by a 13 thousandths of a second also out.
I don't understand why we're so rushing in this qualifying, honestly.
Getting stuck.
Yes, good morning everyone. 1 hour of 3 coming up
I don't understand why we're so rushing in this qualifying, honestly. I don't understand why we're so rushing in this qualifying, honestly.
Overly amused, and his third SQ1 elimination in 6 sprint weekends this year. Let's go to his boss, the team principal at RB, Lauren Mekis, is with us. What was the problem that Yuki was trying to highlight there, Lauren? I'm hoping Laurent can hear us.
Yes, sorry, I can hear you now.
Excellent. What was the problem that Yuki was trying to highlight there? He said you were rushing into it. What was going on?
No, so what Yuki was
I
mentioning is
understand,
that we were a bit tight
copy,
on
Yuki.
time, as you have seen, there was a lot of
I hear you.
cars queuing, so
We're a
we
bit
just
short.
Yeah,
asked
you
him
don't
not
hear
to
me,
lose too much
man.
time on his last cool lap. That's what he was a little bit frustrated with. There was no other choice. It was just a product of everybody getting ready for the final push. So that was just a frustrating moment, but the truth of the matter is that it's very, very tight. We are probably lacking something, both cars, in terms of pure pace. You see Liam is 1.3 seconds from P1, so it's not as good as where it should be. And then after, it's a matter of a few hundreds to get both cars into to make the cut. So disappointed, but luckily we have another shot tomorrow, both in the race and for the new quali.
Hi, Laurent, it's Jensen. It's unusual to see so many laps that we're putting on a set of tyres. It seems that there's no degradation, or very low degradation on the tyres. Are we expecting something similar in the next session?
Yeah, you're right, Jensen. And actually, I thought that was Yuki's frustrations at the beginning, but no, it's not. And you have seen most of the guys have improved on their third push as we have run. So I think it's a product of, it's the first time I think you actually qualify on a C2 tires. So you have a sprint with a C2 with this year rules. So it's probably the hardest tires we have ever qualified with, and the very cold temperatures. And to answer your questions, yes, I think at least some cars will probably do the same in SQ2.
Looking forward to it. Thanks ever so much, Lauren. Back with you after SQ2. There's Charles Leclerc. 25 points this year from the sprint, second highest driver. You won't be at all surprised to know that Max Verstappen, with a win in China, win in Miami, win in Austria, and a win in Austin, is the highest scoring driver in the sprints. And Verstappen, along with Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, the only drivers to reach the final part, SQ3 of sprint qualifying at all 5 sprints this year. Now, the stewards are looking at Magnussen, Stroll, Bottas, Sainz, Leclerc, Albon, Verstappen, Gasly, Perez, Norris, Lawson, Piastri, Russell, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Hamilton, the list continues, and Joe after the session for going too slowly and for backing up. Now, normally they get let off, but there was a lot of backing up going on.
Yeah, I think the issue is that you've got such high-speed corners here. It's difficult to find a way to get out the way. So they're slowing up towards the end of the lap as well, when they've got their delta on the dash, and then they're getting to the last corner and thinking, oh, I got to get out of the way, and just going below that level they're allowed to.
Max Verstappen on his first flying lap. While we watch that, let's hear from Ted.
Just a quick one, all those people backing up almost cost Pierre Gasly his shot of getting into this SQ2 session. It worked out for him in the end, but not so for his Alpine teammate Esteban Ocon. Just walked past me in the pit lane, pretty dejected. Just worth bearing in mind if you weren't with us in free practice 1, Gasly does have an upgrade on the car, on the front wing and the nose, that Ocon doesn't. So that might explain part of the 0.4 of a second difference between the two Alpine drivers.
And the one thing we didn't get time to cover before now, so let's cover it now, was Lando Norris's lap in SQ1, the fastest lap. That was something else, wasn't it?
Almost half a second quicker than his closest rival. Very impressive. Hopefully he's still got a bit in the tank for the next 2 sessions.
Yeah, how much has he got in his tank? In terms of fuel, you say it's very fuel affected. There's a lot of dust being kicked up by Max Verstappen as he goes over those curbs. And maybe a bit of scraping as well of the plank on those raised edges, which have been rounded off since last year.
Yeah, you can also see the diffuser working, the floor, and how the dust is billowing out of the back of the car. It's beautiful to see.
He is a couple of tenths up, Max Verstappen, on Nico Hülkenberg. Next across the line will be Carlos Sainz for Ferrari, and Sainz only 3rd fastest, but as we saw in SQ1, it takes him a lap to unwind and unleash the full potential of the prancing horse. Here comes Charles Leclerc, and he's straight on it once again, but by only 6/100ths of a second to Max Verstappen, who asked for a flap adjustment after the first part of qualifying, which did what?
Well, it depends on which way he went.
Well, which way do you reckon he went?
So we either had too much understeer or too much oversteer. I'm guessing he wants more front end, just the way that he likes to drive the car. He likes it pointy and on the nose. And you can gain so much time by getting good front end into this car in the high-speed corners.
He was getting, I'm told, too much mid-corner understeer.
There you go. See, we're right.
See, you're clever, you are.
I know.
Anyone think you won a world championship once? Jenson Button alongside us in the commentary box, and we are already well into this second part of sprint qualifying, and this is Lando Norris, 5/100ths off the pace, only 5/100ths off the pace through the first two sectors. Rounding the final corner he goes, and it's a straight dash to the line, which comes up at you very fast indeed. He's second fastest, couldn't reduce that gap, well, did by 1/100th. It's 4/100ths of a second as Kevin Magnussen gets a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits.
It's all right, he's got loads more laps left. It feels like they're going to run all the way to the end of the session, so hopefully he can get a lap in. But, oh, that's turn 13, turn 14. It's so tricky. He was out of the throttle for a long time there, wasn't he, through 14? But he just missed the apex of 13, and it put him a bit wide for 14. And he's doing all that at 160 miles an hour.
But at least this time he's not weaving his way through cars into the final corner as he did on his final flying lap in the first part of qualifying. Gasly crosses the line and goes sixth fastest. The cut-off time is about a 1:22.9. So, sorry, 1:21.9. So say the predictions. We'll see what comes true.
So no one's through yet, then?
No one's through yet. Well, that's the thing. The track is going to be evolving all the time. As we ride on board with the Mercedes of George Russell.
This gives you a great sense of speed, this does. Especially the change of direction around here.
It certainly does. What happened to Oscar Piastri, though? On his lap, came across a little bit of traffic, but that shouldn't be worrying him too much, but that will. Oh, dear.
Yeah, that's painful. He's just got a little bit of understeer through the apex and run it out wide.
I'd be very glad that the tops of those curves that used to be a pyramid shape have been rounded off a bit, just to ease the tyres and probably ease the floor on that McLaren too. Charles Leclerc is going quicker through the middle sector, first sector, fastest of all that we've seen so far. Ted's got a line from us in the pit lane.
He's been on the radio though, Charles Leclerc, saying that this front tyre is grained up, so little grains of rubber on the front that's costing him grip. Doesn't seem to be affecting him so far, but well, we'll see whether that clears up or whether he drops down the order. I'm going to go with a 22.1 or maybe a 22.2 for a cut-off, Crofty. Maybe there's a typo in there. Maybe there's a one second typo in that graphic.
Talking of timings, Piastri and Verstappen, exactly the same time once again. Twice in this qualifying tonight, we've had the same times as Carlos Sainz puts 2.5 tenths between himself and Piastri.
What are the chances? George Russell on a pretty strong lap. Was purple in the first sector, and now he's purple in the second sector.
I think I was watching Lewis Hamilton when he came on the screen, and on another preparation lap, and I think George Russell's done the same, and I think they're building in a couple of preparation laps. And that's certainly done the trick for George Russell there, as Oscar Piastri gets a lap time deleted. His 1:22.05, the same one that Max Verstappen put in. For exceeding track limits, Piastri's had a lap time deleted. His teammate Lando Norris is on an absolute flyer here.
Just a slight lift through 15. Oh, looks easy, doesn't it?
It does from here. As Lando Norris crosses the line, where's this lap going to put him? Quickest by 2.5 tenths from George Russell. His teammate is now down in 14th. That lap didn't count, and that's really cost Oscar, who's doing his damnedest to respond straight away, and has done with the fastest first sector of this session.
Yeah, this is the lap. This is the lap for Oscar. He's missed the first two, so purple first sector, he's looking strong. But no, they're looking mighty, aren't they, the McLarens?
So Piastri has got himself clear of the traffic that is building up in the middle sector, but I wonder if he didn't get a bit compromised by a lot of cars going very slowly. 27.6, he dropped about 3 tenths during that middle sector. That time.
Oh, he's off again. He was wide there, wasn't he?
Well, he was wide, but not all four wheels, luckily for him.
Just time loss, but you know, if he's 3 tenths, 4 tenths off Norris, I think he's still safe.
Thing is, for Oscar Piastri, this is a lap that's going to have to count for him to try and get through. And he goes third fastest with a 1:21.5. Should be enough. 1:22.1, the projected cutoff time. Ted was right about that. Let's see if it's in reality it pans out. Oscar's not going to get another lap in. That's him done for this part of qualifying, and we're on board with Lance Stroll, who's getting a lovely tow behind Valtteri Bottas, and goes 9th fastest. But once again, is that a bit too early? And do you want to be someone like his teammate Fernando Alonso, who actually on a flying lap at the moment, but that little bit later on in the session? Here is Alonso now.
You want to be on a slow lap now, coming into start your last lap. I know it's really tricky because they're exiting the pits at the start of the session, but
yeah,
you know, your engineers should be able to factor that in.
Nobody is really on a slow lap to take the checkered flag just before it falls. Lance Stroll in a bit of trouble because behind him, Bottas and Lawson and Albon are all improving in the first sector. Max Verstappen will cross the line, goes 4th quickest, aced the final sector, and not surprisingly, Oscar Piastri, when he comes in, saying, you might want to check the floor here. I went over the curb a bit. Here's Alex Albon out on track in the Williams, and he keeps picking up purple sectors from time to time as Alex Albon, and you thought that was a bit wide?
That was twitchy. The rear was so twitchy, Apex, to exit there. Lucky to keep it on track. I don't think he would have lost too much time.
Valtteri Bottas, who hasn't reached SQ3 or Q3 since China, is on a flyer too. Albon goes 10th fastest. That pushes Stroll out of this qualifying. Across the line will go Liam Lawson. He goes 8th fastest. Bottas can't quite make it. 12th fastest only. Hulkenberg goes ahead of Lawson and into 8th. Kevin Magnussen takes the checkered flag. He stays 15th. Pierre Gasly, we've got the stopwatch on as Lewis Hamilton goes 4th fastest. Stroll is not improving. Gasly did improve, and that knocks Fernando Alonso out of qualifying. And that's important for Gasly and for Alpine to get a car into the top 10. Important too for RB that Lawson is up there, and they've got a car in the top 10, and for Haas, Hulkenberg with a car in the top 10, because they need points in their battle for 6th in the championship. And out in front still, Lando Norris.
Yeah, great lap once again by Lando Norris. But yeah, it's a great little battle we've got there, isn't it, between the Haas, Alpine and RB. But the big surprise for me this session was the Mercedes, 2nd and 4th.
And doing it by just changing their strategy slightly and building in another preparation lap to gently warm those tyres up before really going for it. Sadly for Kevin Magnussen, he is out at Haas. Lance Stroll was in the top 10, but one by one he was replaced. Valtteri Bottas only 13th, Alex Albon out, and Fernando Alonso too will go for pole in a few moments. Welcome back to sprint qualifying, where Fernando Alonso, this man, evened it up 3 apiece in the quali head-to-head for sprints with his teammate Lance Stroll. Anthony Davidson, though, down at the Skypad, has got some more news on the Spanish two-time world champion.
Yeah, I have, Crofty. Yeah, just a quick one in turn 10 here. It's part of the reason why, if you just watch the hands on the wheel, goes a bit wide over the exit there, really has to fight the car. When you think it was only 4/100ths of a second that counted there between being in or out of qualifying, small moments like that are really going to cost you. Back to you.
Thanks ever so much indeed. Let's hear a little bit of team radio, shall we?
That was a good lap, man.
Yeah, that was a good effort. We are in, mate.
No way.
And in Laurent Mekies by 4/100ths of a second. Boy, did well.
Yeah, it's a good result. You know, happy for Liam. He has been working hard, playing catch up a little bit since this morning, and he got there. It shows you how it's crazy tight. No, you have you switch from being threatened to get out of Q1, or actually we have one car out to go to Q3, and it goes into very tiny details about getting the car in the right window for the ever-changing conditions. So it's tight, but you know, we are in the fight, obviously, with both a Haas and an Alpine in there as well with us.
Obviously in the next session you're running the soft tyre. Did you find a positive feel going from the medium to the soft in practice?
Yeah, it was a decent chunk of grip, so yes, it was a positive feel. You know, strictly speaking, we have the choice either to run that soft from FP1 or a new set. I mean, I won't surprise you if I tell you that we will go for the new set, given that we have our 2 main competitors in it, and then we'll try to make it for tomorrow.
It's that magic P8, isn't it? And if you can do better than that, brilliant, but you need to get at least P8, because you're in that fight, as you say, with Hülkenberg and with Gasly as well.
Yeah, P8 is what matters. You know, it's the one single point we are all fighting for tomorrow, but it's the one point that could actually change a lot of things when you look at the standing in Abu Dhabi in a week time. So it's very good. You know, it's what we all want. This extreme competition. So we'll go and try to get it.
Thanks ever so much, Lauren, and good luck to you. And you just saw on the graphic there between McLaren and Ferrari, 22 points the difference between a Constructors' Championship, which for McLaren would be their first since 1998.
That's nuts. That's before I even started racing, and I'm old. But it's so nice that we're seeing this fight. It feels that I haven't seen a Constructors fight like this for many years.
Yeah, it does
so
feel
we're
that
so
way.
excited about this challenge that we have.
Absolutely love it. And I have no idea, Ted Kravitz, what's going to happen in the next 8 minutes, except Carlos Sainz will probably qualify 5th, because that's where he's qualified at every single sprint race so far this season.
Oh, definitely going to happen then. Yeah, I'm excited too. So the early Kiwi gets the bird, or something like that. Liam Lawson leads them out. And yeah, Max Verstappen and the 2 Ferraris come out with a Mercedes as well. What happened to Charles Leclerc in that sprint qualifying 2 session, I hear you ask?
What happened to Charles Leclerc, Ted?
It was just traffic. It was, I've just had a view from Ferrari. It was just traffic. Didn't get the tyres prepared to the level that he wanted to on the outlap, and that meant that he dropped a few tenths of a second. And it is only a few tenths of a second, isn't it, Crofty? Half a second to 8 tenths, something like that. It can make all the difference from 1st to 10th.
Max Verstappen was trying to get out there nice and early, and then Pierre Gasly was rather released into his path, Jensen, but...
Yeah, I mean, Max could have lifted off the throttle a little bit sooner, couldn't he? But he almost had a car driving the side of him. Did you see that?
Yeah, he veered a bit, didn't he? Is that a Ferrari coming out or a McLaren?
Not sure. Oh, the Ferrari, because the McLarens are still in the pits.
Either way, he's out, he's unscathed, and he takes his place then in this top 10. Max has either, by the way, qualified on pole 3 times or 4th on the grid twice in sprints this year.
I think probably 4th is more realistic around here.
And Ferrari and Mercedes have no sprint poles so far this season. McLaren do, and they locked out the front row, of course, last time we had a sprint race in Sao Paulo with Oscar Piastri starting on pole and his teammate Lando Norris from 2nd, and then they swapped him around to give Lando Norris the win. Piastri was on pole here last year for the sprint. Max Verstappen clinched the world title in the sprint last year. Tell you what, Jenson Button, as he's starting his first flying lap, take us through it.
Let's do it. Through turn one, well, they're all long corners here, it seems. Through turn one, get the car over to the right as quick as you can for the long turn two. Get on the throttle before the apex here, and then you're up through the gears. This is such an easy section for these guys. Easy flat all the way down to turn 4. And he doesn't look like he's actually pushing.
No, he doesn't. Is this another one of those build it up slowly preparation laps?
It is. He crossed the line with the DRS open, so I guess maybe they're doing that for a higher top speed, better to build core temperature in the tyre. So Carlos Sainz gets past him on the track then, and only a 31.2 in the first sector for Carlos Sainz, which is nothing special either, and now they're having a bit of a race. Yeah, why not? Let's drive offline. All the way around to get down on the tyres. So they're prepping, basically. Yeah. They're trying to get their tyres working in the right temperature range. It probably told them on the dash where they were, and they weren't in the range they wanted them to be.
This man, though, has gone for it straight away. Charles Leclerc, 30.2 through the first sector. That's the best that we've had so far. Middle sector, Pierre Gasly's put a 27.7. That's pretty handy from him.
He is going to catch 3 cars in the high-speed turn 12, 13, 14 though.
One was his teammate who moved out the way. One is George Russell, and the other one is Max Verstappen. And you're being disturbed by the turbulent wake here?
Yeah, as you saw with a big snap on the exit there with the rear, would have cost him about a 10th.
Interestingly, the 2 McLarens came out of the pits a little bit later than the others, which indicates to me they're trying to find a bit of space when no one else is on the track.
Which they've done wonderfully well. You know, they're sort of 30 seconds behind everyone else on the track, and they're later than everyone else, which is obviously a slight risk if something goes wrong with the yellow flag, but there we are with Norris 3/10 up in the first sector.
Yeah, both Norris and Piastri are 29.9 through the first sector, matching each other. Leclerc with the fastest time by 0.6 from Gasly, who's ahead of Lawson. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell building it up slowly. Verstappen and Sainz building it up slowly. Norris absolutely flying here, and McLaren just opting for a different way to go qualifying, knowing that they've got pace and thinking that they've got pace pretty much straight out of the box. We can watch Oscar Piastri on the screen and his teammate who rounds the final corner. Lando Norris charges to the line, and it's a really impressive time of a 1:21.0. Puts a lot of daylight between himself and Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton has now gone quickest in the first sector. Piastri to the line, 10th.5 behind his teammate. But McLaren might think, well, front row lockout's going to be ours. The others are going to mount a challenge, and Hamilton's the first one to lay down that challenge. But Verstappen and Sainz going well through the first 2 sectors. Here comes Max Verstappen over the line. Where's he going to put his Red Bull? Third on the grid. Best final sector. George Russell gets a distant tow behind him and replaces Max Verstappen, goes third fastest.
Yeah, nice lap there. And now we're on board with Lewis around the last corner. He's got purple first sector. Personal best obviously in second, and he runs 5th, so a little bit off the pace there, sort of 4.5 tenths off of Lando in P1.
And Carlos Sainz, who was opening up for a lap here, has decided, I think, to go for another preparation lap. I think he might have backed out of it once again. He is going to get one chance and one chance only to put in a push lap, a performance lap, as the teams call it. Real pressure on Carlos Sainz here as Max's family joining in the championship celebrations, which are still going on and probably will do for quite some time. Verstappen, who's been on top of the Drivers' Championship since the Spanish Grand Prix, May the 22nd, 2022. And that was that snap of oversteer that we saw.
It looked even worse off camera, didn't it?
Just?
Interestingly, Gasly and Lawson have pitted.
So that's it?
No, they back out again.
Really?
So I don't know if they were... can you run the... Can you not adjust? Can you not change the tyres from the practice tyre to the quality tyre?
Only the one set. You can adjust the flap, the front wing angle.
Which normally you would never do in a qualifying session because the degradation is so low, you can.
Ted, did you see it?
Of course I did. I'm down here in the pits. That's my job. Lawson was a front wing adjust. Gasly just went through to get himself a better space on track.
Thank you very much. And Nico Hülkenberg has got himself a little bit of space, but he might just join the queue that is forming. Gasly, Leclerc, Sainz going slowly through the middle part of the lap as Hülkenberg on a performance lap, pushing hard. Lando Norris in the first sector, just outside of his of that best time so far, but in contention. Oscar Piastri, though, just inside through that first sector and in contention. Back to Nico Hülkenberg, who's got 3 more corners to go and a few cars that may or may not be getting in his way. The Ferrari of Leclerc stays out of his way quite nicely. Can Nico Hülkenberg put his car somewhere around P7, P8? That's what Haas will be wanting. He crosses the line, goes P7. Not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was all lost in the first sector, really. There was quite a bit of time there. So if he's able, well, that's it for him. Game over, isn't it? He is P7 at best.
Here's the man on provisional pole, Lando Norris. He's going to pit. His time of a 1:21.0 is the best time he has managed in this session. Can Oscar Piastri knock him off that top spot and be on pole here for the 2nd year running? No, he can't. Lost time in the final couple of sectors. It's still McLaren 1-2. It's still Lando Norris from Oscar Piastri. Personal bests are being set, including in the first sector, for this man, Max Verstappen. But will it be enough? By my reckoning, he's about 3 or 4 tenths off the pace here, gents.
Yeah, tyres are dagging off more than we thought, I think, in this session. Now they're actually wringing the car's neck. Let's see what he can do crossing the line.
He crosses the line, and it is a 4th fastest for Max Verstappen, where he's been 4th on the grid twice so far this season. Here comes George Russell next, currently P3. Make that front row once again for George Russell, who was on the front row for the Austin sprint. Here comes Lewis Hamilton next to try and improve from 5th. Didn't manage it. Liam Lawson will be next to cross the line. Liam Lawson goes P7, replaces Hülkenberg in that P8. This is Carlos Sainz on his only lap, and he moves 4th. He's been 5th on the grid for every sprint race this season. Make that 4th, and he's ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc, who takes that 5th spot, and a disappointing end to sprint qualifying for Ferrari, who managed only 4th and 5th, whilst McLaren were 1st and 3rd. Pierre Gasly pops his Alpine into 8th, and that could be really, really handy for Alpine. Hülkenberg ends up P10, Lawson in the middle of them. And it's Lando Norris on pole then for the sprint here in Qatar.
Yeah, it was a great session between him and George, and they were also close to the top 3. But yeah, we thought they were going to be doing more laps on the tyres there, didn't we? But they were pushing those tyres so hard they're going to only get 1 quick lap out of them.
Yeah, so Carlos Sainz, you can see then why he left it, just 1 lap to try and sort out qualifying, but disappointment for him, and it's going to be disappointment for Liam Lawson too, whose best time is going to be deleted for exceeding track limits. He'll start 10th on the grid, and Hülkenberg will move up a spot. And 6 sprint races this season. The first sprint race of the season, that man was on pole. The last sprint race of the season, that man, Lando Norris, is on pole.
Yeah, all the way through qualifying. Super strong, hasn't put a foot wrong, and so confident, pitted early. Like it.
Knew what was coming. Maybe Ferrari were running just a little bit lighter than others during the course of the practice session that Charles Leclerc dominated. But it's Lando Norris who found the pace, despite running a little bit wide, and that may be why he pitted at the end, because he knew that he wasn't, even at turn 2, he wasn't going to be beating his time. He lost a couple of tenths there.
Yeah, you're not going to find that back around here.
No. Charles Leclerc, meanwhile, running onto the curbs, but that was okay. That wasn't. Lost time right at the end, and given that there were 2 100s between himself and Carlos Sainz, he might well have beaten his teammate. Carlos Sainz might have finished 5th, just to finish 5th at every single qualifying. You know how I like my number patterns. James Hinchcliffe has the microphone in his hand. Let's hear down in Parc Fermé from our pole sitter, Lando Norris.
Lando Norris, pole for tomorrow's sprint race. What an incredible lap for you. It looked so fierce and so fast out there on the racetrack. Just walk us through a lap around here.
It's tough because it's so quick around here. You know, it's probably, it feels like the quickest circuit of the year. I mean, like the final sector just feels like you're just hanging on, you know. So yeah, I mean, great qualifying today, especially to bounce back from where we were last time out in Vegas. It's a nice thing to do. So happy. It was a decent lap. I made a couple of too many mistakes on my second. But we were coming here to get pole, and we did that, so job done for today.
You know, last year when you guys raced here, so much was made about the conditions, the temperature being so hot. It's a lot cooler. Is that making the track faster? And how tough was it to kind of adjust to the different conditions with only one practice session?
Yeah, I mean, it's the wind plays a big part, but the conditions are also a lot better than last season. Makes it a lot tougher physically, but also makes it a lot quicker to drive, you know, so I don't know, I struggled to, but I think some of the other cars are close to being flat in most of the corners in the final sector, and that's quite an accomplishment, you know, so it feels quick, and when it feels quick, it must be very fast, you know, so it's a challenge out there, not easy to put a lap together, especially because the tires they don't feel in for the beginning, and then kind of through the lap you gain confidence. So that's been the challenge of today, but it's paid off. We made some good improvements into qualifying, and I was happy with it.
All right, so looking forward to the sprint race tomorrow. How much of it is a kind of a test session for the Grand Prix on Sunday, or are you just kind of focused on the best result tomorrow?
I mean, I want to win. You know, we want to win every session as drivers, so our target is a 1-2. You know, we want to maximize points for our constructors today, so yeah, we want to go for it. We know it's going to be a battle. We know Mercedes will be quick, Ferrari will be fast, so not expecting an easy one, probably expecting an exciting one for everyone watching, so looking forward to tomorrow.
All right, we can't wait. Best of luck tomorrow.